Just at this very moment, Putin's associates have finally betrayed him. It came from where no one expected. This person was always by the dictator's side and now is seizing power in the Kremlin. Russian security forces and elites have been preparing for this for a long time. The masks are off and the conspirators have gone on the attack. The British harem against Trump. London demands that this be handed over to Ukraine immediately. The arsenals are being fully opened. This secret weapon has been ordered to be given to Kyiv. Ukraine's allies have put Trump in a vice. Shock oil apocalypse. Russians are drowning in boiling death. Events are unfolding live. A poisonous cloud has covered the sky above the trees. Thousands of victims. An emergency evacuation has been declared. Russians are begging for help, but there is no protection. All this in our episode, Infernal Point. Shock, the Kremlin is purging from within. The elites have declared war. Putin was betrayed by those closest to him. A successor has been officially chosen. You will be shocked. No one suspected a thing. This person had been close to Putin for a long time. The masks are off. It has begun. The countdown is now in months. All the details of the Kremlin's conspiracy. Watch. Putin will be removed soon. The Russian dictator is secretly being prepared for removal.
I know, I just know. From talking to different people, including those from the administration and the government, they all actually secretly hate Putin.
This is former Kremlin activist and author of denunciations against the opposition, Ilya Gremyslo. In an interview with Ksenia Sobchak, he voices,
"It is truly difficult to process the sheer magnitude of these absolutely shocking things that have occurred, as they are completely unexpected and leave everyone in a state of total disbelief and profound wonder at how such extraordinary events could even take place in our world today."
What happened in 2017, we have no right to repeat it more.
Until recently, Gremyslo publicly supported the war against Ukraine. But in March, everything changed dramatically. On his Telegram channel, he began posting anti-war messages. He demands Putin's resignation and calls him an illegitimate president.
5 reasons why I stopped supporting Vladimir Putin. First, the war in Ukraine. Second, the enormous damage to Russia's economy and the well-being of its citizens. Third, the suffocation of internet freedom and the media. Fourth, Putin's length of time in power. Fifth, Putin does not respect his voters and does not want to listen to them. The answer is, Vladimir Putin is not a legitimate president. Vladimir Putin must resign and be brought to trial as a war criminal. Yes, long live freedom, damn it.
Immediately after such frank statements, the disgraced blogger was sent to a psychiatric hospital.
It's safer there.
But most importantly, the Russian elite has long since lost even the appearance of unity. Inside, only accumulated resentment and embezzlement thrive. And the reason is that resources have dwindled, opportunities have shrunk, and control has become harsher. And now when the system no longer provides the same perks as before, things start to accumulate within it. Conflicts.
It will be something like a palace coup. Revolutions in Russia. What Prigozhin wanted to do, a military coup. There won't be anything like that. It will be something very quiet. Fragmented.
In Kremlin offices, there are conversations about a possible coup, and the figure of the successor is Prime Minister Mishustin.
Not everyone admits it, but Mishustin has serious ambitions. For example, take the fact that he makes statements about the need to quickly end the special military operation. The idea that the war needs to be stopped is popular among many members of our elite. And the chairman of the board, many want to be liked. This is harmful, and we are keeping an eye on him.
Tisharif, I am obviously devouring myself already. And so, changes are just around the corner.
There's a growing sense that some kind of storm is coming in.
All of this is coming together into one picture.
Putin's approval rating has started to collapse. And for some reason, Russian sociologists who were essentially just hired workers for the presidential administration have become emboldened. From
one side, there is external pressure, war, sanctions, and strikes on infrastructure. On the other hand, there are internal disputes that can no longer be hidden, even within the system itself.
It is that same feeling that all sorts of many different strange figures and unique personalities are being mentioned. Heroes, from insect experts to Z supporters to professional informers. Some Z supporter, the former people's governor of the DNR, Pasha Gubarev, then some Bonya, I'll refrain from saying what her last name rhymes with. And everyone is getting involved, everyone. Some are harassing Putin, some are demanding something from Putin, some are criticizing him. It's obvious that someone is giving them carte blanche, someone is paying them or promising them protection, promising them safety in this situation.
If earlier the Kremlin confidently projected the image of a monolithic power where all decisions were made firmly and without hesitation, today that structure is starting to crack. A royal blow to Putin, a British harem in the US Congress, London steps onto the stage and challenges Trump. Britain demands that this be handed over to Ukraine immediately. The world is holding its breath. This reinforcement was only whispered about, but now it could become a trump card in Kyiv's hands. Arsenals of weapons are being opened to the fullest. All the details are in the report.
His visit to the US Congress forced. Getting the Democrats to stand up and applaud is something Trump never managed. The words of British King Charles III were dedicated to Ukraine. The monarch called to prepare for war with Russia in order to protect the bravest people, the Ukrainians.
After the events of September 11th, 2001, when NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time and the UN Security Council stood united against terror, we responded to this challenge together. Shoulder to shoulder, we went through 2 world wars, the Cold War, Afghanistan, and other episodes that defined our shared security. Today, decisive action is needed to protect Ukraine and the bravest people.
The monarch arrived in Washington for a visit and met with the US president against the backdrop of the simplest relations between Trump and the British Prime Minister, Starmer. The publication Politico writes that Charles issued a veiled challenge to Trump regarding Ukraine and NATO.
The king went even further, linking that pivotal moment in 2001 to the need to maintain Western unity in supporting Ukraine amid the ongoing war. The king takes a completely different position compared to Trump's criticism of Ukraine and its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, with whom Charles has met privately several times over the past few years. This passage is a direct appeal to Trump and the Republicans in Congress to maintain American support in the fight against the Russian.
This event marked the definitive beginning of a massive, full-scale military invasion as heavily armed foreign forces launched a meticulously coordinated assault across the sovereign borders. Their primary objective was to rapidly seize control of the territory, dismantle local defenses, and establish a permanent dominant presence throughout the entire region, effectively altering the landscape for years to come. From here to there, he becomes sympathetic. There is understanding. They realize that this is truly the right dialogue. Since
the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the United Kingdom has provided Ukraine with over £13 billion sterling in military aid. And in 2026, this aid will amount to another £3 billion. A week earlier, the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom announced the delivery of at least 120,000 drones to Ukraine. This includes both reconnaissance and cargo UAVs, as well as long-range strike drones.
This large batch of battle-tested drones will provide Ukrainian forces with the necessary capabilities to protect their people and repel Russian aggression. John Healey, UK Secretary of Defense.
And this is not the full list of military aid from the British government. London, together with its allies, is also considering the possibility of creating a new financial mechanism, the so-called Defense Bank, which will help Northern European countries rearm more quickly in the face of the threat from Russia. This defense bank includes the United Kingdom itself, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Denmark, Iceland, and the Netherlands. And in the event that the United States leaves NATO or its role in the alliance is weakened, European countries are preparing to withstand a strike from Russia without the United States and are already successfully helping Ukraine.
Urgent. A terrible disaster in Russia, thousands of victims, hot oil is spilling onto the streets of a Russian city. An emergency evacuation has been declared. Russians were not prepared for this. What they did to Putin made him sit down. Rivers of boiling oil and deadly smoke over the city. The whole truth about the fiery trap into which Putin has driven Russia. Next. The head of the Krasnodar region reported to Putin that there are no serious threats in Tuapse. Meanwhile, the new landmark of the resort town is the Tuapse volcano. Or, to put it simply, the burning oil refineries can be seen from hundreds of kilometers away.
This is just insane.
And While TASS is publishing videos of a volcanic eruption in Hawaii, residents of the Krasnodar region are posting explosions in local social media groups at the burning oil refinery, one of the main Russian arteries for oil exports. A barrel burst, it's hot standing by the window, and then everything quieted down. That's it from the plant for everyone. Burning oil products even spread onto the nearby streets. After Mordor first appeared within Tuapse, the fire spread to neighboring plants, houses. The authorities have introduced a local state of emergency. 60 Russians have already been evacuated. They were accommodated in a school and given food. The consequences of the third attack on the plant in April. The governor of Krasnodar Krai could no longer ignore it. On site, as an experienced crisis manager, he was giving valuable advice to the rescuers.
We are controlling the situation now.
To the maximum extent possible.
Although only on the ground. His visit was seen from a different angle than how the PR people.
This is the story of Kondratyev. In a brief 1-minute video clip, he's seen walking up to the group of volunteers. Of course, they carefully avoided showing the beach, and then he simply turned around and left the scene. But on all the local channels, they're broadcasting how Patriarch Kirill gave him yet another medal.
The piquancy of the situation the governor found himself in is explained by his personal meeting with Putin at the beginning of April, right on the eve of the Ukrainian UAV attacks on Tuapse.
The governor of Kuban, Veniamin Kondratyev, reported to Putin that there were no serious threats to Tuapse due to the fire at the local oil refinery. That's easy to understand. After the search of Kondratyev's estate worth 1 billion rubles, he solemnly promised Putin that all the beaches of Kuban would be open this year and that there would be a normal swimming season. However, Kondratyev himself still prefers not to linger in Tuapse for now.
Even Putin himself could no longer ignore what was happening. However, the formidable dictator, whose approval rating is rapidly falling,
They muttered a series of indistinct and barely audible words under their breath in a low tone, in a manner that was difficult for anyone nearby to clearly understand or decipher, sounding very much like the following statement that I'm about to describe to you now. Actually, the governor just reported in. He's on site? Well, in this case, he was there a couple of hours ago. In reality, there are currently no serious or immediate threats. People on the ground are successfully coping with the various difficult challenges they are facing today.
the only thing that changed after this so-called intervention from the top was the arrival in Krasnodar Krai of the head of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, Kurenkov, who also handed out valuable instructions to the local rescuers.
The current situation is challenging, but it is under control at this point in time. We have now thoroughly examined and reviewed every one of the inspections. There are outlined plans that will be implemented around the clock. Work continues. We are keeping the situation under control. I think that in the near future, there will be certain results.
In Tuapse, where according to the authorities there are no serious problems, several dozen streets have been left without water supply due to the shutdown of pumps at the oil refinery. Local residents are advised not to go outside due to the increased concentration of benzene in the air. Meanwhile, the baton of striking footage from Tuapse was picked up by Perm. The defense forces attacked a large oil refinery in the region. According to analysts, the reserves are enough to keep burning for several days.
50,000 steel killers. Zelensky has given an order that will wipe the Russian army to dust. Ukraine is launching assembly lines for Avenger robots. This is a technological knockout for the Kremlin. The iron fist of the armed forces of Ukraine is in action. Putin is terrified. What deadly surprises do these systems conceal? Details in the report.
A major step in defending the country. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has instructed to increase the production volumes of ground robotic systems for this year.
Production and supply volumes must be increased. For this year, the contracted volume is already more than double compared to last year. This is a level that definitely needs to be even higher. The task for the Minister of Defense of Ukraine and the General Staff is at least 50,000 Nirka units for this year.
The head of state believes that this is the next major step in Ukraine's defense, one that truly affects the situation. This comes after the transition to drones has already taken place.
Everyone understands this is about protection. Life, logistics at the front, evacuation of the wounded, combat missions. Right now, the use of UGVs is developing as actively as possible.
Ground robotic complexes are unmanned systems designed to perform a variety of tasks. In frontline conditions, these ion assistants can carry out logistics missions, reconnaissance, evacuation, or even open fire, minimizing risks to personnel.
Essentially, any modern robotic complex is an autonomous or semi-autonomous unmanned combat unit. It is a specialized vehicle that is operated and controlled from a remote distance, with its human crew located safely in a secure fortified shelter. Depending on its specific functions and design, it can be utilized as either a heavy transport vehicle or a sophisticated combat machine.
According to the advisor to the Minister of Defense, Serhiy Flesh-Beskrisnov, it is robots that can significantly change the course of combat operations and become the answer to Ukraine's limited human resources.
There is a real boom of UGVs in the country. 15 UGVs are receiving NATO certification. In my opinion, this is the future of ground warfare. And right now, I am very glad that this topic is becoming our priority. We do not have as much mobilization resources as the enemy. That is why our robots will fight instead of the infantry. No, this is not science fiction. This is something that many brigades are already demonstrating. Will the enemy destroy UGVs? Of course they will. Will even 100 UGVs save the life of one of our soldiers? Absolutely, yes. It's just metal.
Last year, Ukrainian soldiers for the first time captured Russian occupiers with the help of ground robots and drones without the involvement of infantry. Since then, such operations have become standard practice. The military note that UGVs help hold back the enemy and save the lives of soldiers. That's why they plan to actively expand their use.
Autonomous ground-based robotic systems in general, they have been patiently awaiting their moment to shine on the battlefield. These sophisticated unmanned combat units, they will undoubtedly play an increasingly vital and central role in future operations.
Here, for example, are exclusive shots from the Pokrovsk direction. During a combat mission in the Donetsk region, the special forces of the Ukrainian GUR operational group Iron Group used a unit equipped with the Enerka Lyud combat module. The robotic complex, which was deployed at a frontline position, carried out control of a specific sector and delivered fire strikes against the occupiers. Thanks to Lyud, the GUR fighters were able to maneuver safely and improve their tactical position. And these shots are both astonishing and heartbreaking. An elderly woman walking along a road under fire in the Lyman direction was spotted by pilots of the 60th Separate Mechanized Brigade. With no hope of survival, she walked through shell craters and the bodies of fellow villagers until a robot came for her. The fighters of the Cerberus Unmanned Ground Systems Company took on the task. To avoid frightening the woman, the ground robotic complex was covered with a blanket bearing the message, "Grandma, take a seat." At the same time, there are certain problems, the developers emphasize. Compared to the millions of drones, the number of delivered UGVs is counted in the thousands, which is just a drop in the ocean for the battlefield. Military expert Pavlo Lakichuk points out other important aspects as well.
At this very moment in time, the Russian leadership is currently taking into serious consideration drone control points. Control points for robotic systems to be target number one. And this is certainly not without a very good reason, because training a specialized infantry squad that holds a certain strategic position is quite one thing. However, training such a specialized crew requires reaching a completely different level of intellectual capability and technical expertise. This process is incredibly demanding, and as a result, such a soldier is considered to be an invaluable strategic asset with immense professional value. To be, figuratively speaking, of a whole different order.
Ukraine's plans were announced the day before by Defense Minister Fedorov. According to him, Ukraine plans to significantly increase the supply of ground robotic complexes to the front. According to the minister, in the first half of 2026, the state wants to contract 25,000 GRCs, which is twice as many as in the entire year of 2025. The main task now is to meet the front's needs for GRCs and speed up their delivery to the military.
Is Russia being kicked out of Africa with a boot to the backside? A catastrophe in Mali. The Russian African Corps has suffered a bloody defeat. The myth of invincibility has collapsed. This is an urgent and total fiasco for the Kremlin. While Putin dreams of victories, his much-vaunted mercenaries have landed in a mess. How does this disgraceful retreat from Africa put an end to Putin's plans? Watch this.
This is a strike by a Tuareg rebel drone group in Mali against Russian military equipment and personnel at a base in the city of Kidal. An alliance of jihadists and Tuareg forces carried out the largest coordinated attack in years, striking from several directions at once. Even Russian soldiers who fought in Ukraine are meeting their deaths in distant Africa.
Russian serviceman Vladimir Shumakov, after 3 contracts in the special military operation, decided to chase Tuaregs on distant frontiers. But on April 25, 2026, something went wrong.
Mali is a key country that Russia influences in Africa. The base in Kidal was under the full control of the Russian army. Mostly former Wagner fighters were stationed there. As a result of fierce fighting, it fell into the hands of the rebels, and the African Corps of the Russian army was forced to abandon this base. According to local media, Mali's Minister of Defense, Sadio Kamara, was killed. He was considered a key ally of Russia. The head of intelligence, General Modibo Kone, was also killed. The Russian base in Kidal was completely surrounded by the Tuaregs. There were about 150 Wagner fighters there. They managed to negotiate a withdrawal from the encirclement. Their Russian equipment left the base. It is known that Ukrainian special services are present in Mali and are training the rebels to operate drones, as well as coordinating their offensive operations. This retreat is a colossal blow to Russia's interests in the region.
If Russian troops were to lose control of Kidal completely, and the vast territories across the entire northern region of Mali, then this would represent a profoundly damaging and significant blow to Russia's geopolitical prestige and influence throughout this entire region.
The conditions of existence, the son of the Kremlin, are such that the Russian army provides security for the regime in Mali, and in return the authorities allow the exploitation of mineral resources. Otherwise, the extraction and development of mineral resources would simply be impossible. For the Kremlin,
situated in the northern part of the country, is the largest gold mining site, which the African Corps has seized and is guarding. That's the first point. Secondly, Russia also has rather significant interests in the south. In particular, a Russian industrial group is currently building a massive joint gold processing enterprise, which will be the largest in all of West Africa, or in
Mali. Russian geologists are engaged in the search for oil, gas, and lithium. Russian Rosatom has also signed major contracts with the government of Mali. Russian pro-war bloggers describe what is happening in heroic tones. A Brest fortress in the desert. The African Corps is fighting while surrounded.
They were just tearing them apart for a whole day, not without losses. Of course, the helicopter was shot down too. Both this and that. But we showed our teeth as if we simply did the impossible. Brest fortresses? There were 4 Brest fortresses yesterday. That's Bamako, Sevare, Gao, and Kidal. But there's a problem in Kidal. They are now cut off from the outside world. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be thought of. They were simply surrounded by 2,000 militants. And now there are 200 Spartans there, one-on-one with fate.
Virtually all international experts and analysts unanimously agree that what is happening now in Mali is a significant strategic failure for Russia.
For Russia, the attack in Mali has become a catastrophe. They were not prepared, they had no intelligence data, and they also failed to prevent the fall of something that was psychologically important to them. Kidal. Lessing analyst.
After the Russian soldiers fled from Kidal, the Russian Federation no longer looks like a reliable ally. And this is understood not only in Mali, but also in neighboring African countries. The Kremlin is losing yet another source of income and a point of influence on the world map.
That's all from me for now. This was me, Renata Aslanova. Even more hellish news from the front in our next broadcast. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon.